Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. It is your purchase and pricing email question line for inquiring about this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. From where I stand, this was the most exciting new release of 2022. One of my favorite timepieces from my favorite brand in a size I can wear. This is the Bethune DB25 Perpetual calendar, 40 millimeters in titanium. The Team Perpetual, finally in a size that my 16 centimeter wrist can bear. It is 12.7 millimeters thick from lug tip to lug tip, 47.3 millimeters with a 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Now back in 2021, Bethune came out with the first titanium QP. Prior, they had been precious metals. The problem was, as much as I love this, and you can see it's got some shipping stickers on it for protection, but it's 44 millimeters in diameter. Even in titanium, I'm not going to pull that off. Even with the green dial, my favorite, I'm not going to make it work. This, though, is a perfect match. And technically speaking, they are identical. You'll see the watch from over the top fits quite easily. Down the barrel, it's even better. The lugs come nowhere near the edge of my wrist. And while it looks fairly sheer and cylindrical, in fact, it's quite thin. If you can wear a Rolex Submariner under a cuff, you can wear this under a cuff. I recommend it for wrists as small as 13.5 centimeters circumference. And yes, it will fit, especially given that it's all titanium and sapphire. It is very, very light. Now the watch has a strap that is high grade. A lot of the best brands these days are doing this. Gator on both sides, small round scale on the bottom, large rectangular scale, symmetrical scale, the best cut on the top. The reason, when you have Gator on both sides, it makes for a longer lasting strap. It's a more durable material that is more expensive but worthwhile. Monotone stitch, you can see here we have a sheer cut edge showing the layers of leather, navy blue matte finish, and then of course a matching Bethune grade 5 titanium pin buckle. And this is grade 5 titanium. It's the good stuff. Like all titanium, it's hypoallergenic, but unlike grade 2, not only is it lighter than steel, which it is, but it's also harder and more scratch resistant than steel. When you see polished titanium, you know it's the grade 5 stuff. Now there are pusher adjusters here, but for the most part you can adjust the watch using a quick set, as there is a quick set function that allows you to rapidly advance the date on the dial. The date drives the month, and then if you want to drive the month individually, there are pusher adjusters for each one of the indications. But for the most part, you can quick set the date and the month, and periodically you may need to adjust the moon phase, and by periodically I mean once every 122 years. Plus there's also a pusher adjuster for the day of the week. Now Bethune makes its own cases, dials, and movements, which means everything here is made in-house. Why? Primarily because they make so few examples of any given model, a supplier wouldn't tool up to make 7 cases or 8 cases or 8 dials. So to control quality but also allow for exclusivity within small model ranges, we do in-house production at Bethune. So now what's really nice, of course, is that all the craft arts are also in-house, including traditional reductive guilloche. So if you look at this dial, you can see it's several different elements layered together. There's a toroidal matte blue hour track with radially arrayed transferred silver Roman numerals, including a watchmaker's 4, and there's a railroad track outboard of that for reading the minutes. Inboard of that, there's a traditional rose lathe rosette that radiates out from underneath a set of polished titanium leaf hands, and you can see that the hands have been dramatically arced to follow the dial and also to clear the moon phase. Now, the moon phase is a patented device. You can see it is spherical. 1/2 blued steel, 1/2 white palladium joined together and then fired over a traditional oil lamp on a bed of metal shavings that turns the steel blue and the palladium stays white. Again, spherical, one adjustment once every 122 years. Because this is a perpetual calendar, the calendar itself does not need to be adjusted until the year 2100. Then we have a little leap year phase indicator underneath the moon, and that bed of blue-fired titanium, that is a proprietary Bethune method, firing titanium to turn it blue. Turn it all over, and we have what could best be described as a movement suited for a sports watch. This is Bethune's twin-barrel in-house automatic winder. It has a platinum rotor, it has a platinum rotor mass, a titanium rotor. Everything you see on this case back that's blue is actually fired blue titanium, so maximizing both the effective lever arm for winding efficiency and then also the mass by using platinum. Titanium also used on the bridge for the balance, and you can see triple parachute shock protection. There's Incablock on the balance staff, and then there are steel springs flanking to better recenter the balance staff pivot in its cup after a shock, and also to better avoid fracturing the balance staff pivot. This improves chronometry and also durability. Now at center, you can see a system that Denis Flageolet, the watchmaking lead at de Bethune, patented back in 2006. We have 4 cantilevered springs, each with 3 low-friction contact jewels to protect the center of the rotor. The idea being when you have a long lever arm, you're going to have this tendency not just to rotate, but also to torque from side to side. By providing extra protection against that kind of motion, the bearing underneath is secured against damage. And again, each one of those little ruby contact jewels is there to prevent sliding friction. It reduces sliding friction to the bare minimum. There's 2 barrels. The power reserve is 5 days or 120 hours, and the balance beats away at 4 hertz. There is a proprietary twin self-adjusting barrel system here, shock protection system here. There is a proprietary patented spherical moon phase. There is a proprietary balance wheel spring. The hairspring is 2 elements shaped by hand and then clamped together to be as shock resistant and flat as a flat hairspring, but to breathe concentrically like an overcoil. So it has the best of both. And then there is a silicone escape wheel for minimal friction and improved power reserve. You can see a lovely industrial chic design across the bridge. It's a combination of media blast and brushing. But the closer you get, especially to elements like the screws, the more you can see that the finishing is extremely traditional in detail. And when you get really close to the triple parachute shock protection springs and steel, you can see they've been satinated and micro beveled. And the same is true of the screw heads, which are black polished across their top, chamfered around their circumference and their slot, and all this water resistant down to 30 meters. This is the de Bethune QP for me, and hopefully for you. If you love this watch, there won't be many. Reach out to me at Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.